So I'm really excited to have this discussion today with experts who are veterans to find new opportunity from the thin air. The panel discussion for new entrepreneurship opportunities in post-COVID era. This is the most talked about subject when most of us are hitting hard to find new opportunities. Our first panelist, he completed Masters from Tata Institute of Social Sciences, joined Wipro from the campus. He was head of the HR at First Source for 11 years, and then he joined Redbus. He knows how to convert a startup DPO to a 35,000 employee organization, one of the biggest in the country, and that's huge. He quit his very senior role in the corporates and moved to the social sector in 2015. Worked as director for the Live, Love, Laugh Foundation and for the Social Venture Partners. There, he was heading a program called Billion Jobs Program. Currently, he is volunteering for various causes, including Center for Excellence in Teachers Education at Tata Institute of Social Sciences, trustee with an NGO like 1 Billion Literate Foundation. He's also on the advisory board of the NGOs Sukrupa and Quest Alliance. Friends, please welcome Mr. Ashu Calapa. Sir, a very warm welcome to you.
Thank you, Bipin.
Our next panelist, he comes from the army background. He feels that greatest moments in life is doing something which may seem impossible. Very inspiring thought for most of us in the current times. For him, I would say, he came, he saw, he conquered. He saw an opportunity, made a very big enterprise in the country to the extent it has multinational presence now. He believes that fitness is about methodology and not equipments. And a healthy body facilitates an active mind and helps us apply ourselves to our highest potential. He noticed that most of the people coming to the gyms were aiming for physical fitness rather than building muscles. But they failed to realize to get a fit body, machines were not required. And then Multifit was born, India's biggest chain of unique gym based on gamification of workouts and so many more things. He also enjoys adventure sports and has trekked to Everest Base Camp 4 times and an advanced level diver. Friends, please welcome Dr. Samir Kapoor. Sir, a very warm welcome to you.
Thank you, Bipin. Thank you. Thanks for the elaborate introduction.
Thank you, sir. And our third panelist is a serial entrepreneur. She has founded many enterprises. She is CEO and founder of AERONERO. This enterprise makes a product which gets water from the thin air, literally. And I meant it when I said our panelists find opportunities from the thin air and they just convert it. She founded WhatsApp, pioneer in laundry space, a video platform called Chera, Supra LED lighting company. She also founded Meraklis and Yali. She is also an avid golfer and was a cricket captain of the women team in USA. Friends, please welcome Ms. Durga. Ma'am, a very warm welcome to you.
Thank you.
Joining the panel space with all of you as a moderator is a privilege for me. And given a choice, I would speak less and try to listen more. To start with, we all know that COVID has brought along a lot of uncertainties and taken away a lot of stabilities. Yet we know that most of the big organizations were built during difficult times. Ashu, would you like to share your views? How do you see the new opportunities in the post-COVID area?
First of all, I want to start by hoping that everybody's keeping safe and well in these tough COVID times. 2020 has been a bit of I think a forgettable year for most of us, or should I say, almost the all of the globe. So, but I think it's important to look at opportunities, even in the best of times. These are not the best of times, but these are the worst of times. But I think it's important to look at opportunities during these times. I think entrepreneurship is something which the world needs even more, uh, and especially India. I think if you look at the government has very limited capacity, especially in developing countries. It's not just India, but most developing countries. The capacity to support people during these times is low compared to, let's say, the US or Japan. Japan has set a record. Japan has come out with a relief package which is 40% of GDP. So which is huge. The US again is, if I remember the numbers right, has come out with a 4 trillion package or a 6 trillion package. I don't remember what it is. Whereas, India's package is, more modest, and I don't blame the government for that, because the government has limited financial strength as compared to some of the developed nations. So I think there are a lot of things that India needs to do, and one of the things is definitely for entrepreneurs to sort of seize the moment and sort of do a whole lot of things that the government can't do, and especially in the social sector. The social sector entrepreneurs typically jump in where the government, for various reasons, is not able to deliver. Right. So, in India, the workforce is around 500 million, roughly. 50 million, 10% of that is formal employment. 450 million are informal, and out of that, 140 million are migrant labor. So, and we've all been seeing accounts of migrant labor in the newspapers, on television, and it's a real sad story. And therefore, I think more than any other country in the world, I think there's a need for entrepreneurship in India. We need to establish systems that encourage entrepreneurship. And I think there's a huge element of opportunity for entrepreneurs. I don't want to take too much time. We will come to the opportunities later. But I think more than any other country in the world, and I emphasize this, I think there's a need for entrepreneurs to jump in and do what they do best.
Thank you, sir. In fact, you have spent a lot of time in human resources and entrepreneurship. We all agree is a need of the day. Samir, we all would like to hear what opportunities would you see in the current COVID times?
Thanks, Bipin. I would like to take it from where Ashu sir left, and I think what he said is very correct. This is the time where you've got so many opportunities. Like Winston Churchill said, never let a good crisis go to waste. I think this is a time for different organizations at different phases to kind of reinvent themselves. Now, one of the things we've realized is a lot of times we're so used to doing things in a particular way that we believe that is the only way of doing things. We don't question those things. And one thing I've realized is that with this, with what is happening today, we have realized the power of some of the things which we always underestimated. So much so that we thought that was never a tool for us. We've been trying to migrate ourselves into digital space for the last couple of years and always shying away from that and thought that it will never be effective. But today it is so effective for us that, as an organization, I sometimes think, why did we not do this a couple of years back when we had all the resources? And today we are short of resources, we're still able to do it in everything that we are doing. So I think opportunities are more than, as of today, it's a clean slate. Your government is not doing too much for you for reasons best known to everybody. That, we are a developing country. There's only so much the government can do for you, which means that the exact same reason why the social sector people are getting onto the bandwagon and doing things that the government has not done. The same way entrepreneurs have opportunities where if the government has not been able to do, the consumer is there for you for that particular consumption. And I think once you look at a problem statement and keep it first in isolation. I think a lot of negativity around, COVID and this is happening. It's a blip, and I remember what Ashu sir used to tell me when I used to work with him. He used to say that, your career is not a sprint, it's a marathon. And I used to always believe it's a sprint. I've heard this so many times from him, and I now obviously give this to people I work with. I think if it's a marathon of 42 kilometers, you're losing on some 2-3 kilometers here. You're not going to lose the race. You still can survive. And I think the key is to get the right mindset. Opportunities are more than what they were probably 6 months back, and I think that's something everybody should take back.
Absolutely. I mean, what you said is we don't question things, and that's a very important thing. We all need to remember we don't question the status quo. I mean, if we do that, new opportunities are born.
Yeah.
Thank you. Durga ma'am, we would like to hear your views.
Sure. I think my erstwhile colleagues here have covered most of the points about the opportunity and the situation and how one must address these going forward. But I'd like to kind of think of it from a slightly different perspective. Maybe that's given my own personal background. Mahatma Gandhi, which said, be the change you want to see in the world, right? And this is such a moment when there is an opportunity to make that change happen. So I look at the situation. Most people talk about it as the new normal. I don't talk about the new normal because I believe in life, no day is normal. Every day has its own challenges and its differences. I'd like to call it, from my perspective, creating a new world from the new zero. It's almost an opportunity for us to look at it and say, God has given us this opportunity to say, okay, imagine you have a clean slate now, but you're not starting from nothing. You're starting from the experiences you've had, the relationships you've made, the knowledge you've gained, the gains and losses you've experienced, and taking all of that into your armory. What is it that you can do to create differently now if I gave you a second chance? It's almost like saying, if I die this moment and come back to life, would I do it differently? You mentioned I played a serious amount of golf. My second putt always goes in the hole. The first putt is the most difficult putt to go in. And every time the second putt goes in, I say, well, why didn't it happen the first time? So there's something about what you learn from the first putt that you realize that the second putt is an easier one to do. So almost from that point of view, do you not think that we are all probably very privileged to kind of redo things again from a platform that's been handed not just to one of us, not just to one city, not to one state or one country, but to all countries at the same time? This is like a world phenomenon. So we're all given the same equal playing field at this point. Of course, given the government supports and things that are different here and there. So considering that, I think of us, the change should come from disrupting ourselves, right? We need to be taking the right risks now. And risks are, risk is a risk, like a rose is a rose is a rose, right? It's always a sense of possible and the impossible. It's an opportunity and yet a sense of adventure, of thrill, but with the potential to fail. But if we view risk from this positive frame of mind, then whether we succeed or fail, we will still win because we would have been on this journey. And, we need to take this risk with a certain amount of discipline, of course. Remember, we're starting with this new platform of all this gained armory. So obviously your risk is mitigated to some extent. So it's important to take the right risks now. We need to play to our distinctive strengths. We all have strengths and weaknesses. And in times of uncertainty, of situations we're not familiar with, we need to focus on what our strengths are and start ideating from that strength. We all have the ability to come up with new ideas. I think my colleague here is running gyms, 30, 40 gyms. I'm sure he's already figuring out what next and how to make this 40 gyms take the leap into the next post-COVID platform. So we need to start ideating from strength and not let weakness or fear of what if I fail, what will go wrong, stop the forward movement, because nothing else is going to be possible. I believe we have to embrace these constraints, and they say love your friends, but your enemies more. We need to look at this time as challenging, but I love challenges. And the minute we accept, power of acceptance can move mountains. So I think we should look at it from that point of view. I believe Dr. Samir said, can't take anything for granted, right? We can't have, there is no entitlement here, right? There's nothing due to us. We have to be very, very happy that post this, we must, think about the people we have lost and who didn't have the opportunity to see what's next and where we're going forward from here. And we need to work on a position of, so here I am, now what? And we need to kind of maybe take a step back from a different perspective before we move forward. Figure on the steps without hanging on to our prior beliefs, what we used to own, what we used to live, how we used to be, and feel and not live in this fear of if we change, something will get lost. We just have to let go of our comfort zone, and I believe the opportunity will start falling into place. Couple of points, last 2 points that I had to on the subject is there is always a possibility of failure, but with the right attitude, we can turn the situation into a potential possibility for a new tomorrow, right? Most of our best plans have been crashed with this COVID. So, hey, what do we have to lose? Let's just have an open mind, pivot, look forward, listen to new views, and quickly draft a new plan. And I'm sure the strategy will emerge and fall into place when the dust settles. So we just need to think positively, believe in ourselves, stay open to new ideas, and just believe that there's everything to gain with patience. So that's my view on the situation.
Wonderful. That was quite insightful. So my takeaway of what you said, we have to take risk. We can't be just sitting behind and thinking that things will be good by itself. We have to work on our strengths. The fear has to be overcome, and don't be afraid of failures. I mean, these are wonderful insights, ma'am, which you've shared. In fact, I'm an ex-banker, and the way you say internally, we are not in the business of lending. We are in the business of risk, and that is how we ensure that we acquire the right customer. So, I mean, that's very insightful. In the meanwhile, I request the audience to please ask questions. This is a good opportunity wherein we can engage with the experts and get their views. So whatever question you have, please feel free. And thank you for all the hearts which you have thrown with the speakers who are talking. That's really so nice of you. Let me just put some questions and maybe we can hear from you on your further insights. So, Samir, this question, if you could answer, would you like to share how opportunities would differ between urban and rural locations? While people say that urban locations may बहुत ज़्यादा opportunity, and that's how most of the organization work for. There could be other side of it. So it will be really very interesting to hear you, sir.
No, Bipin, I think not really. I believe that the opportunities are bigger and larger in the rural areas because they're very, very underpenetrated. If I were to put things in perspective, let's look at a case study of going to a gym or playing a sport, any of that, because that's relevant to my field. So I'll talk about that. Now, when we did our first gym in a tier, so we are in a city like Salem. I have a gym in a city like Salem, and when we were launching Salem, people said, why will people go and work out in Salem?
Yeah.
And the point is, the fact of the matter is, why will a person in Salem not want to work out? Now, why ask the question the other way around? The point is, we don't realize that today there is people, a tier 2, tier 3 town guy does not want to be referred to as a tier 2, tier 3 town guy. He says, my city is also good, and it's a fact. See, I am an army kid. I have traveled the country. I did my entire schooling from 9 schools, so 12 classes in 9 schools. So my teachers never got an opportunity to get back at me. By the time they had to get back, I was out of that school. Now, so I've learned to adapt, and I've realized that in the smallest of towns, I did my 10th started from a place called Tanga Valley. I can bet nobody would have heard of it. Now, Tanga Valley is a Arunachal, Assam, China border kind of an area. It's 20 kilometers from a place called Bomdila. And you would be surprised that even in a place like that, people are watching the same thing that you watch on TV. People are exposed to the same thing. Why do you think a tier 2 city or a tier 3 city is like a tier 3 city? Even when I was running my own college, I had students coming in from small towns like Roorkee, from places like Nabha, from places like Baddi, from places like Gwalior, and they all want to do well in life. The opportunities in tier 2, there is a lot of reverse migration happening now. So you're telling me that if I go to a city like Dehradun, or if I go to a city like a Mysore, I will not have opportunities? No. In fact, it's the other way around. You have so much opportunity because there aren't so many. So what is you look at a Bombay. Now we are present in Bombay just because we want to be as a brand be present there. Is Bombay very profitable for us? No. Is Mysore more profitable for me? Yes. Why? Because it's an under-penetrated market. Now if you were to look at the fitness sector, penetration of fitness in India is just 0.3%. Compared to Europe, which is about close to 16 to 17%, UK being 16.4%, US is 18%. Now, if we are at a 0.3% penetration, it is because India is not India. It's Bharat and India. There are two Indias within India. We don't realize that the amount of opportunities that exist in tier 2 cities. If you were to ask me, I would love to settle in a tier 2 city. I still remember I used to always tell Ashu sir, why don't you be open a FOSO center in Pune? I will ensure that I will get all the people. And the reason was I wanted to get back to a city like Pune. I never liked a city like Bombay because it's too big for my liking, or for that matter, Delhi. Any of those larger cities I'm not too comfortable with. I would rather be in a small place. And we've realized that a lot of our employees, a lot of our students who passed out, worked in cities like Bombay, Delhi, Pune, Ahmedabad. They have gone back to their own cities and done very well for themselves. They put up small units of small factories. They picked up jobs there. You need to understand. I remember, the first time, I had gone to the US, and that was to First that we were migrating a process of Northern Trust Bank. And I was standing in a queue to get into to see the Statue of Liberty. And I was standing there and said, boss, this is so expensive, man. $50 or whatever. He says, cheap or expensive depends on which part of the world you're coming from. And it's so right, because you're converting currency. Now, if I go to Bombay and I see a 1 lakh salary, but guess what? I have to pay 50,000 for my rent. I would rather earn 50,000 in my own city and do well. So I think this reverse migration, this opportunity, and going back to roots is going to happen more. And I think it's going to be very good for the country because it's going to get your infrastructure, which is so clogged, to become better. And also for people to become first generation entrepreneurs. As I am a first generation entrepreneur, I believe that people will get this opportunity. And you keep now COVID in the context as a background, even more so, because now you've been forced to go back to your city and you say, you know what, this is not that bad. And I could do A, B, C, and D here. And guess what? Now you're contributing to the economy, you're creating employment, you're looking at opportunities, because you're now questioning the status quo. So I think if you ask me, rural India has more opportunities than urban India. Urban India is dog eat dog world. Rural India, you still have so much scope to do well that given a choice, I would go to a tier 2, tier 3 city immediately.
I can't agree more. In fact, we all know that our GDP, which is divided between agriculture, service industry, and manufacturing, a large part comes from service industry, which is around 61%, and around 27% comes from manufacturing, and 17-18% comes from agri. I mean, I don't know if it's adding to it, but close by. So the point I'm making is, agriculture is one area which has been least affected in the COVID times. So the point you're making, sir, is completely in sync. There would be probably more opportunities in the rural locations. So that's a great insight. Thank you. Durga ma'am, this question for you. You have worked in all different kind of space in technology and different. I mean, I can write a book on what all things you've done. So, how do you see technology being part of new opportunities in the post-COVID era? Is knowing technology very important for a person to convert an opportunity, or what role technology will play in the opportunities post-COVID times?
So I think we use the word technology so easily, and it seems frightening to many, right? Because immediately people think, well, I should have been an engineer, I should have been a programmer, a coder. I need to know the ins and outs of how things work. And the people who have gone through, education at that level at the IITs and other technology institutes, and who have actually, worked in the technology area, are not the grand sum of all people. I myself worked in technology in the Valley for over 20 years, but I am not a technologist. I am not a programmer. I'm not even an engineer. Frankly, I'm not even educated. But I know how to use technology, right? For me, when I look at technology, I try to see whether there is a simple way to get my job done. If it's too complicated, I will go ask somebody and say, well, can you make it simpler for me? I have to get from here to A to B. And if I can find technology that helps me do it, I will learn it and I will use it well for the scope of work that I need to achieve. And I think from that point of view, the opportunity for entrepreneurs to build technologies, which is inevitable, is technology is going to become pervasive. It has to be at every level. It will go as far as the 250,000 villages that we have in our country. It will go to the 7,000 towns that we have. Forget tier 2 and tier 1 cities. That's already there. So when we have to get to 250,000 villages, technology will become pervasive. Agriculture will require technology. You said agriculture was probably the least affected during the COVID times, but interestingly so, I quite agree, because farmers grew watermelons and did not know how to get it to the cities to sell. And what could they do with their crop? That was their whole year's livelihood, and that was it. And if they didn't get it to the cities and to people they could sell to in a week's time, the watermelon will perish. So there are a number of cases like this where they have been deeply affected. They already have a huge problem in small towns and villages, without water, without power, without infrastructure. So I'm sure there's another opportunity there, both for, I wouldn't say all government, but I would say, a public-private sector, relationship that can enable infrastructure, enable water, enable, transportation, technology, and telecommunications to reach these smaller towns and villages. And I think that opportunity is going to be a fairly large opportunity, probably to be leveraged by some of the bigger players in the country, because they have the muscle and the money power to enable it quickly. And remember, we don't have next 10 years to enable it. We have to react quickly post-COVID. We have to do it in the next 6-12 months if we want our company's economy to grow and our people to survive. It's not enough if people who have the wealth in their banks in the cities to say that I survived COVID. What about all those who don't have a bank balance? And for them to survive, we have to get them to be enabled. We have to empower them. And so we will need everyone to work on a war footing. And we have to work collaboratively. It's not about, that's a bigger organization and I'm a small organization. I think the ant and the elephant have to work together to get the job done, right? And only then will we be able to truly make a difference in our country. So technology, to answer your question, is absolutely a necessity. Does everyone need to be a technologist to make it work? Not necessarily. Will people all learn to use technology? Absolutely, if you make it easy for them to use and enable them to find a way to use it for their business and their livelihood. So I think it has to be a combination of all forces coming together.
Thank you very much. So in fact, let me also confess, I was always kind of afraid of technology, but the point you made is, you may not know technology. Like you said, you don't know technology, still you're running a technology company. So many of the viewers might be afraid, I don't know technology. So friends, you may not know it, but you can still use it. Thank you. Ashu sir, one question for you. You mentioned about migrant laborers, and that's the manpower. So, and then most of us, when we see them on TV, we read them, and we feel really concerned. So, do you see opportunity? Like we heard that UP Chief Minister said that we will change the policy laws. So, do we see entrepreneurship opportunities there, and we can mobilize that manpower?
Huge number of opportunities, Bipin. I'm not an expert on migrant labor, but I
Yeah.
was just giving this a thought today morning because of this session, and I've noted down some opportunities. I think I think the first opportunity is creating a database. I don't know whether it was Mukesh Ambani or somebody else who said the data is the new oil, and I see a huge opportunity for entrepreneurs out there who can use technology, to sort of create databases at the village level, at the taluk level, at the district level, at the town level, at the city level, maybe at the state level, maybe at the country level. So I can see enormous number of opportunities coming from using technology to create a database and then using that database for various things. So that's number one. I think number two is we're talking about entrepreneurship opportunities, and we're talking about both for profit and not for profit. And my focus would be a bit more on
Yes.
not for profit. But I think I see a lot of opportunity for rights-based organizations. What I mean by that is that, look, we've seen the pathetic conditions in which these migrant labor live. We see that they literally live day to day, or maybe week to week, at best month to month, right? They don't have any savings. So I see a huge opportunity for rights-based organizations which can sort of organize this migrant labor. I'm not talking about trade unions, but organizing this migrant labor so that their living conditions can improve. uh, they get fair wages. I don't like the term minimum wages. I think wages should be,
Yes.
and I understand that industry can't afford to pay maximum wages, but I think they deserve fair wages. They deserve to live in reasonably good places. So I think there's an opportunity for rights-based organizations. I think the other thing, which is very obvious, is that there's a huge opportunity for skilling and upskilling, right? So how do people earn more? Look at it this way. I mean, people like you and me, Bipin, we join. We've had we come from reasonably privileged backgrounds. We go to good schools, good colleges, good institutes, join companies, and then over a period of time, even if you're not so good, even if you're an average, slightly above average person, you typically rise up a company's ranks, and that's how you create wealth for yourself. What about these guys? A lot of them are in jobs which are, I don't want to call them dead end jobs, but these are, low skill jobs. And therefore, one way for them to, sort of, earn more money and keep some of that aside, and, hopefully save for the future so that they're not living day to day or week to week or month to month, is for them to, sort of, have financial literacy. And I think that's where organizations can do a lot. So one is skilling, upskilling, and then I think there's an opportunity in terms of financial literacy. I also think there's opportunity for technology, but I'm not going to get into that. I think there are various ways in which technology can help these vast numbers of migrant labor. But healthcare, healthcare is a huge opportunity, but I'm not going to get into that right now. So I do see a lot of opportunity in terms of creating uh, upskilling opportunities, skilling opportunities, in terms of trying to organize some of the more entrepreneurial workers amongst them to maybe become entrepreneurs. And when we are talking about entrepreneurs, we are not talking about large entrepreneurship. We are not talking about the Azim Premjis and the Ambanis of the world. We are talking about entrepreneurs who employ 5 people, 10 people, and therefore, have done well for themselves, and, have created small organizations, and maybe their families can build on that, right? So I see a lot of opportunity for migrant labor.
Wonderful, and that's quite insightful. So one of the points which you made was data is oil. So I mean that's a very buzzword in the corporates, because I feel data is going to be very important for the people to convert the opportunities around. Right spacing, upskilling, these are right timed opportunities in front of us. We can build entrepreneurs, and as you rightly said, for becoming an entrepreneur, you need not be into business. Even an employee can be an entrepreneur, because he can generate or convert opportunities when he works for you. So when you are working with a labor or different employees in the organization and make them entrepreneurs, that will help in converting a lot of opportunities. Thank you, sir. Samir, I have one question for you. You are in fitness space. During this time, a lot of people are experiencing fear, stress. So, do you see good opportunities along with health and mental health post-COVID era?
Yeah, definitely, Bipin. I think what has happened is people, when they started staying at home, they've started looking at, suddenly started looking at themselves more closely and saying that, मैं अपनी life में कर क्या रहा हूँ? When it comes to staying fit. And I think a lot of people have jumped onto the fitness bandwagon in the last couple of months. These are people who always had an excuse. My office is 2 hours away. There's a lot of traffic. I don't get time to go to the gym. These are people, and we've seen a lot of first-time gym goers, first-time people getting into fitness. I won't say gym goers because gyms are closed, but people who've gone to first time into gymming. So one of the businesses that we recently started as a very, I won't say business per se, one of the opportunities we saw was there was huge demand for fitness equipment. And I'll just give you one data point. In the last 2 months, the demand for dumbbells has grown 700 times from a customer perspective. Not 7 times, not 70 times, 700 times. There is no supply. It's like what we heard in the UK, that the toilet rolls are flying off the shelves. Dumbbells are flying off the shelves. You go to any of these sports places today, they will tell you dumbbells are not available. And if they're available, they're pre-booked. People are willing to pay money in advance and saying that, boss, dumbbells rakhna mere liye. So I think that's something that is changed. Now, from a mental health perspective, I think what is happening is people are thinking a lot about this. The 2-3 months that are there. It's best to, and we are social. At the end of the day, a man is a social animal. You need to talk to people. Kitna webinar karoge, kitna podium pe baat karoge, at some point of time you have to meet people because you get fed up of it. I'll give you my own example. So my wife is a British national. She got stuck in the UAE. She's all alone in the UAE. So for the last 3 months, she's there, I am here. We are talking on bottom. But see, it's not like being together or talking together. So people, all of us have had some constraints in life. All of us have had those issues. But I think it's best to look at it in a way that it's a short-term phenomena. It will change. This is, a lot of people are saying, I don't agree to this. This is the new normal. This is not the new normal. We will go back to BAU. You will have either we'll have develop herd immunity or we'll develop a vaccine or whatever. And this is not the new normal that a restaurant will have 50% capacity, gyms will not have people going, schools will not work. That's not what is the new normal. I don't believe that's that there's too much of a crisis on hand. So people should refrain from thinking only negative. Only negative thinking that boss, सब कुछ खराब हो गया, सब खत्म हो गया. No, there's so much of opportunity. Look at it this way. Till about till COVID times, we didn't have this industry of manufacturing PPEs, and today we've become one of the largest manufacturers in the world. Is that not an opportunity? And that comes from that word that Indians are very famous for, jugaad. You look at things and you say, boss, what can I do with my constraints, with my resources, whatever I have? You look at it this way, your resources are together, keep them together, and you make a bhelpuri. And bhelpuri is a marketable product, and at the end of the day, you got different things put in it, but it is a marketable product at the end of the day. I think everybody has to look at opportunities with whatever you have. Everybody, like you rightly said, everybody does not have a bank balance. What do you do if you don't have a bank balance? That's not the end of the world. There are opportunities and consumers want something. So when you talk about mental health, one of the biggest problem is people look at it as uncertainty, which is going to create an issue. The moment you start looking at that, you start panicking. And I think that's something people should not look. People should look at it that, this is a pause, there is a change, there will be some changes which are here to stay. If there are 100 changes that have happened, probably 95 are not going to stay with us, 5 are going to stay with us. One of those 5 could be people getting used to personal hygiene. I don't know how far it will go, but people will probably get used to that. One of the second things is that, these webinars, we have to always, and I look at myself and say, boss, I was so stupid, man. Why did we spend so much money on flights and hotels? We can do all these meetings on the webinar. In fact, they're more effective because you're not wasting time, you're not traveling, you're doing awesome screen share, you have an opportunity of seeing everything. So, boss, opportunity to hai. So I think you have to look at it in a positive way. From a mental health perspective, I think everybody should spend at least an hour a day on their own physical fitness. When you train, your body secretes endorphins, and they are the happy hormones. You feel nice about yourself. Don't lie in your house, sitting on a sofa and watching Netflix. I mean, people have reached a stage that they can, they know which program is showing what time and where, and because that's what they're doing. So I think we have to move away from that and believe that this is a time of opportunity. Yes. I have to spend on myself. I have to also spend on my well-being. My well-being means at least working out a day. I don't even have an excuse that 1 hour you're going to the office. You're not creating any more time. If you are reaching office at 9 a.m. and getting up at 7:30, you can work out because you're not going to office anymore. So I think that's something people have to look at, and very, very important to keep your physical health well-being in place, because believe me, physical well-being has a huge impact on your mental well-being as well.
Sure. Thank you. So, as you rightly said, there will be a lot of opportunities around mental health as well, and the onus lies on the people themselves to take care and spend some time on their mental health as well. By the way, I just did order online dumbbells. So, what you're saying? So, and a kettle for my daughter. So, I mean. That's very true, and that's a very right observation. Durga ma'am, one last question for you. Then
sorry to interrupt you. There seem to be a whole lot of questions which are coming, so you may want to have a look at that.
Okay. Did we?
But go ahead with whatever question you had for Durga.
Okay. So I'll quickly have a last question for ma'am, and then we can come to the questions. So, ma'am, sorry. Sorry.
I'll keep my answer short so we can get to the questions quickly.
Yeah. So I just wanted to know, how do you see opportunities coming specifically to the women, because post-COVID they are big and important part of our society. So how do you see the opportunities coming specific for the women?
First of all, I believe in gender equality. I have never seen distinguishing demarcation between what a woman can do and a man can do, right? I play cricket, remember? So I think women can do just as about anything that men can do, and vice versa, right? How many men are cooking in the kitchen today and cooking excellent dishes, by the way. And they taste it too. You almost feel like saying, why didn't you do it before? It's amazing that they could have actually cooked so well and they never told us. So
on a lighter note, Durga, maybe women are just praising their dishes because they don't want men to stop cooking.
Absolutely, and think about it, right? We're finding these hidden secrets and talents in each other. So there is nothing about just women or men. I think it's a common platform, and I think opportunities are equally available for both. I think the reason why I would address it from a women point of view, having said that, is only because maybe it's a psychological thing, or maybe that's how our Indian culture or our businesses work, or even in the United States, I think to a large extent that's how it works. when organizations now are going to come out of the situation and they need to see greener balance sheets, they are going to resize their headcounts. And maybe in the US, our laws are a little more stringent, so they will not fire women first. They will try to balance it out. But I think in India, it's unfortunately not going to be the case, and we don't have any laws to protect women, the so-called weaker part of society. So I think the first people who will be out of a job will be the women. And the justification will be you can take care of the family and look after the house, right? Because I have a better paying job and I think I can go out there and get it done. And then most women may even agree simply because they say, well, at least I'll get him out of my hair and let him go work and I will find something to do. And let's keep peace in the family. So from that point of view, I think it's important to find something for women that makes sense for them to start looking at new opportunities. And like I said, again, it's not that it's because it's man or woman, but it's just the way it might pan out. I think it's an opportunity in farm to table. You talked about agriculture. During these times, a lot of people I found were bringing produce directly from farms and farmers directly to communities. There were no shops in between. There were no markets in between. A lot of people brought direct to housing complexes and delivered it at that door. So I think what people have been trying to do farm to table for some time will actually explode now, because people have tasted that it's fresh, it's there, it's available, it's possible, and the price is right. Why do I have to pay all the interim people? So I think there's an opportunity there. EduTech is, of course, going to go through the roof. However much we will go back into schools, I am firmly of the belief that education through online will continue in some form or fashion, not just education of the standard, school-going, college-going education, but it's going to be post-school, post-classes. It's going to be on sports. It's going to be on health. It's going to be on mental health. It's going to be on spirituality. I have seen at least 300-400 wellness gurus that have sprouted in the last 2 months. I'm not saying that they were not wellness gurus before, and I'm not saying that they don't have knowledge, but suddenly they're on a platform, they're on social media, and everyone's spouting it. I didn't even imagine I would see Eckhart Tolle, who's a well-known writer, right, who has inspired so many people around the world. I didn't expect I would see him having a program, right? But it just goes to show it doesn't matter how well known you are or how little less known you are. Everyone is going to have a say on social media, some form or fashion. So there is an opportunity there. And these are things that women can pick up quickly because they have that inherent talent. Women are multitaskers from birth. We are made to do everything and yet be best at everything. So they will find a way to, get these opportunities out there. So I think EduTech is a fairly an easy one for them to work with. I think farm to table because they are familiar with food and something that is close to their heart and to feed their families. We ourselves are trying to do something in the nexus of entrepreneurship and water distribution, because that's both our problems. Water is a problem, and so is now creating entrepreneurship. We're trying to have a nexus between the two, and we will be announcing something in a little while. I believe that will create an opportunity as well. And both Ashu and Samir said, that smaller towns and villages are going to open up. So taking opportunity from cities, knowledge from cities, and creating opportunities in those smaller towns. We would, if I had to bring a business from the US to India, we had consultants who help understand the local culture. So in a similar fashion, taking that knowledge from a city into a small town or a village will become a consulting service, where you will help somebody set something up there, help them get funding, help them put marketing or sales plan in place, and we'll start finding smaller communities, creating smaller opportunities in their community that they survive and thrive in. So I think there are several opportunities that women can look at.
Durga ma'am, there's one question here, and I request if you can take this. This is from Mayur Parekh. He's asking, what are entrepreneurship opportunities in agriculture and rural areas to provide self-reliance and sustainability to reverse migrants, including rural masses, for a new startup? How to raise funds for the same list of institutions or investors?
So I'm going to quickly, since we're running out of time, and I'm sure my colleagues would like to answer the question. So first of all, as I just said, farm to table is a huge opportunity, right? try to create the supply chain there. Try to make sure you set up small centers in smaller villages, smaller towns. I think before the supply chain and even getting it to the table, there is an opportunity in creating infrastructure itself to make agriculture work, right? Creating, moving away from chemical pesticides to organic solutions, trying to bring water into these communities, right? And not just potable water, but also helping them with agricultural requirements. There's an opportunity there. Bringing power into these places, right? There are many things that we've used as a commonplace in cities, but in smaller towns and villages, they use at their hands mostly. I think creating tools that they can use to make their agriculture, their farming easier, that can be an opportunity in the manufacturing and engineering segment, right? So I think when you talk about agriculture, it's not about just planting a seed and watching it grow. I think because you have to talk about everything from the land, the infrastructure, power, sanitation, water, education, the supply chain, bringing that supply back into cities or elsewhere, and I think it's a plethora of opportunities that one has to consider.
I think that's very rightly, as you said, that will bring sustainability. And if you could also throw some light on reverse migrants, how can we find an opportunity or get them into work?
Bipin, can I jump in here?
Absolutely, please. Yes, sir.
No, just going back to the previous question, I quickly noted down three things. One is, I think there are huge opportunities in terms of farmer-producer organizations, FPOs. I think my experience of working with one or two NGOs in this field is that I think there's a huge opportunity. Nobody seems to have cracked it yet. So most of these FPOs are still, struggling is the wrong word, but they're still trying to figure out what's their secret sauce, right? So I think, there could be a lot of opportunity around trying to bring farmers together in a producer organization and then trying to do a lot of things with that group of people. So that's number one. Number two is crafts and artisanship. I think nobody's touched upon that. I think that's a huge opportunity.
Yes.
Very quickly, I made a visit to Seva sometime back. This was almost 2 years back, Seva in Gujarat. And Seva works in some of these tribal areas where these tribal women largely have great embroidery skills, but they don't know what the modern urban woman wants in a city like Pune or in a city like this thing. So what they need is they need design help. Somebody needs to help them design, and they need marketing help, right? This can be a huge opportunity for India. So there's embroidery is just one skill. We have a lot of these craftsmen. Of course, those things are going out. With new generations, we are losing some of those skills. But if there's some kind of a market linkage, the way Durga talked about farm to table, if there's a way of taking the products, helping them with design, and then taking these products to the market, I think there's a huge opportunity there. And lastly, very quickly, I think there's a lot of scope for value add in agriculture. There's a company started by a IMB professor called Farm Veda. And what they do is they help some of these groundnut growing areas in Andhra Pradesh to sort of value add. So they process the groundnuts and they make various products out of that. And as a result, the farmer gets not 2x, but 4x or 6x what you would have normally got if you had just sold groundnuts to, at the local market. So these are three quick points I wanted to make on that particular question.
Thank you very much. I think you also addressed a few other questions which I was reading. I just want to check with the team, do we have another 2-3 minutes or we need to wind up, because I think we have shorter timelines. I think we'll carry on. I'm really liking the discussion. So till the time they close the relay of the video. Okay, so we have one question from Siddharth Gupta. He is asking, given the shortage of imports amidst the lockdown, when the economy was standstill for 2 months, should the focus increase on self-sustainability and reduce dependency on imports?
I can give you an example of what has happened in our space of as gym manufacturer, as gym people who set up gyms. So a lot of while we were doing all this, there was a transition and some new gyms were about to open, and we had a huge issue around the backlogs that were coming, and the ports were not working. So you had to, the duties were kept increasing, and all those things happened. And also we were dependent on multiple countries where our entire business and some of the equipment only come from outside. We're dependent on them. So I think it is very important that we start focusing on things that can be made in India and can be made well. So in the interim, we did find people who could manufacture this for us or who could upskill themselves. So there was an Indian manufacturer who, like dumbbells, usually were imported from China or used to come from some of the other countries, Taiwan. But recently, manufacturers in cities like Meerut and Ahmedabad and Punjab have come up with with durable dumbbells which are cheaper than what imports used to be like. But I mean, the pricing today is higher because of a demand supply and the transportation issues. But over a period of time, the prices will get lower. Only one challenge I see is with with our Indian manufacturing of equipment or whatever, is that we believe 90% chalta hai, 100% nahi chahiye quality. So I think that one of the things that we need to work on is working on the quality. Once you've sorted that out, there's no reason why I should pay so much of import duty on anything. So I think we have to somehow create a supply chain within the country so that you're not dependent, and especially for any case like this, which ever happens.
Thank you very much. And I'll go for another question. This is specifically addressed to Ashu. So what is your thought on social economic startups? I believe all startups or innovations will now have a better chance if they make a social impact and then also make economic sense. You have a large migrant force that is going. I think you already addressed that, but in case you want to add.
No, but yeah, valid point. I think there's huge opportunity there. Let me take an example of a social entrepreneur who's based in Pune. His name is Swapnil, and he started an organization called Samagra. I'd encourage everybody to go and Google Samagra, and he's in the area of toilets. So he's trying to create a business opportunity out of the need for toilets in India. Of course, Swachh Bharat has played a big part in increasing the number of toilets, but I don't think most of us still believe that the job is done. So he's used technology. He's designed a certain kind of toilet that processes the sewage into a certain product. So it's a great example of finding an opportunity in something that nobody would have thought of. I mean, who thinks of toilets as an opportunity for entrepreneurship, right? Another example, garbage disposal. I think there's a huge area of opportunity in India. I think it's a mafia. Of course, there's a different political problem, when it comes to garbage disposal. But I believe the Mumbai Municipal Corporation, or I don't know whether it's still called the Bombay Municipal Corporation, spends 8,000 crores on garbage disposal, right? Now, there are entrepreneurs who are saying that, look, hey, here we'll come up with a solution where this will be self-sustaining. The Bombay Municipal Corporation can save on 8,000 crores. We will ensure that we will process the garbage, make money out of garbage, and ensure that the government doesn't have to spend 8,000 crores, and that 8,000 crores can be spent somewhere else, right? So I'm just giving examples for the want of time, but there's a lot of opportunity there. It's a different thing that the ecosystem, needs to be greatly improved. And obviously this is not the session for that, but the enabling system isn't good in our country. But I think there's a huge opportunity out there in every area that you look at.
Thank you very much. I think we have overshot our time. Thank you, Durga ma'am. Thank you, Samir ji. Thank you, Ashu ji. We had a wonderful discussion. I was really enjoying it. I would like to close the discussion with what Thomas Edison once said. He said that opportunities are missed by most people because it is dressed in overalls and looks like work. So, I mean, it may happen that opportunity is sitting near us. It may be sitting behind us. So we just watch the opportunities. And as we all discussed, that don't be afraid of failing. Technology pata nahi pata is not important. Leave the fear behind. Question why it is being done like this, and we'll find much more opportunities. I think the time was short. We could have discussed much more, but thank you once again, and thank you everyone for taking out time and hearing us.
Thank you, Bipin.
Thank you. Thanks.